Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will now ask you to please be upstanding for the national anthem. The Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Culture, and Heritage, Ambassador Dr. Amina Mohammed, Principal Secretary, State Department of Sports Development, Mr. Joe Kudo, the CEO of Kenya Commercial Bank, Mr. Joshua Oigara, FIA delegates present here today, led by Mr. Surinder Tati, the CEO of WRC Safari Rally, Mr. Phineas Kimathi. Distinguished guests, good afternoon. Welcome to this lovely day at the WRC Safari, and I'd like to welcome all of you for have taken time to come and be with us today. With that short statement, I wish to invite our CEO, Mr. Phineas Kimathi, for his remarks. Bwana CEO.
Thank you, my Cabinet Secretary, Ambassador Amina Mohammed, my Principal Secretary, State Department of Sports Development, Mr. Joe Kundo, my friend and CEO of KCB Group, Mr. Joshua Igara, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good afternoon. This is going to be a very, very brief ceremony, but very, very important. KCB have been partners of motorsports and indeed very many other sports for many, many years. And today they are here to demonstrate their commitment to continuing with the partnership that they developed over 18 years ago with the Kenya Motorsports Federation. I wish to thank the management of KCB in a very big way for making sure that the baby or the child called Safari Rally did not die simply because WRC went away in 2002. It is indeed easy, or it became easy for myself and my team to take up the Safari Rally and try and sell it again to WRC. So to me, I don't think that I would have been able to do anything if KCB did not stand with the Safari Rally from 2003 to 2017. But I'll leave this to be expounded by the next speakers, and I do not wish to get into the numbers because I am extremely excited to get the public sector to come and stand with such an iconic event, which indeed is the largest event to be held in Africa in the last very many years after the World Cup in South Africa. As I conclude, let me take this opportunity to thank many men and women who are working under my direction to get this event back. Today, we have a host of experts here. I don't know where they are, but I would like to just use this moment to demonstrate how prepared we are, to demonstrate how much knowledge transfer that is happening behind the scenes to ensure in the years to come, the Safari Rally will purely be managed by Kenyans. Is Ian anywhere near? Ian Campbell? If you could just raise your hand. Ian Campbell from the United Kingdom has been working with us as an expert from FIA, and he has helped train many of us, including Guvi Babra, who could just put up his hand as the clerk of course. Are you there? Right. On top of that, I have another expert who has been working with us by the name Yao Passos, but because we like pronouncing J, so we call him Jao Passos, from Portugal, the land of Vasco da Gama, who has been working as a WRC expert. And he will continue doing that until we deliver a world-class event. We have trained over 500 people in different aspects of running a WRC event. And to be able to do this, we have one great gentleman called Dom Sanders. If you could just put up his hand. And I discovered that Dom was actually born in Kenya, because I was wondering how come he knew so many corners around Nairobi. And he was finding it very easy to interact with the people. And then in the area of rally headquarters management, we have Tanya from Deutschland or Germany, who is with us, and she has been working with our event secretary, Ellen Shiri, and Wambui Kiru, and all the other people at the rally headquarters. So please, if we could just appreciate them and tell them Karibu, Kenya. Bwana CEO, Mr. Joshua, these people have been working with us for the last close to 2 years now, because we lost the opportunity to host the 2020 event due to COVID. So they have been here for quite some time, and that has helped a lot of my officials to become experts as well. Just allow me to turn so that I can recognize most of them. We have the FIA Vice President, who is also our FIA liaison. He's a very senior man because he is in charge of the entire African continent, and he's also a Vice President to Mr. John Todd. Then I have Guvi, I have just mentioned him. If you could just put up your hand. He's a clerk, of course, a very, very important position. He manages the sporting aspect of the event. We have Anwar Sidi, who is the media liaison, and a long-time photographer of motorsports. Then I have Jim Kaumbura, the event director, who is working very closely with me and also a member of the steering committee. A former rally driver, accomplished indeed. Next, we have Kimandi Mange, who is a director of Kenya Railways, and also a former rally driver and a member of the organizing committee. I have many more heads of department. I can't see Professor Jutli, a very important person. If you're head of department, if you could just make your way, please, to the right place. Then we have Faith Wathome, who is in charge of hospitality. And now I have Professor Jutli. Apparently, Professor Jutli is an open heart surgeon, and is the only doctor who is accredited to run a WRC event in the entire continent of Africa. He works as the chief medical officer. Then I have Helen Shili, the secretary of the event. Norris Ongaro, the Chief Safety Officer, and George Mwangi, Deputy Clerk, of course, Joan Nesbitt, Competitor Relations, Musa Locho, Technical Delegate, FIA, Jim Wahome, Competitor Relations Officer, and Ivy Kaburu, in charge of our Greening Legacy project. I am sure I have covered everybody. Before I invite Joshua, let me say a small personal story about my relationship with Joshua. I knew Joshua because I had an opportunity to serve the bank in one way or the other. In fact, I had an opportunity to handle big events for the bank. And when I started doing this, I was running into a lot of challenges at different times. And one time, Madam CS and Mr. PS, I was in a meeting in Paris, and I was talking very big about my dreams and my plans. Then I was asked, why don't you give us a guarantee that when we proceed negotiating with you, you'll be able to find the money to actually run this event? Those of us now who are in government know how difficult it is to get such a letter from any government office. But this afternoon, I want to acknowledge that when I looked for Joshua, he told me he was somewhere in Zurich, in Switzerland. And I told him I could take a train from Paris and go to Geneva, but I've never been to Zurich. So why don't you come to Geneva and we have a small meeting, I tell you how I am getting on. And we sat at the lobby of Joshua's hotel one evening. We didn't even have a meal because he wanted to go back. And he actually called his office in Nairobi, and I was given a guarantee that I was sent to Geneva the following morning, which I printed. And because it had the necessary signature, I went back to Paris, and I looked a very proud man, because the biggest bank in the region had actually guaranteed me on this event. So with that very, very important story, I want to personally thank KCB for what they are doing and request Mr. Joshua Igara to come, give his remarks, and if you think that I've just told a lie, you can ask him to confirm. So thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Madam CS, I must say that he has very good memory. It's true, there was no tea at that time because it was a train ride in Geneva. But thank you very much, our chief guest, Ambassador Mina Mohamed, for coming. The PS, Joe Kudo, Fairness, who we worked with very closely from the beginning when there wasn't really much. The entire team at the WRC, the project committee, I sit on the steering committee as well, the media, the KCB team, and ladies and gentlemen. So CS, I will say, it's quite exciting today. It's historic. Many things have been spoken, and like Vinius for the introduction. But on behalf of our board of directors and management, I'm glad that I'm joining today to present our commitment and sponsorship towards the upcoming WRC Safari Rally Kenya to be held in June 24th to 27th. And over time, Madam CS, through you, the government of Kenya has been at the center of providing support. This was a very complex project. I remember when we spoke with Phineas out of the country, and here, many other conversations. We've been involved in sports for many years, and I appreciate the efforts of my colleagues and friends at the WRC Rally Steering Committee and KMSF for your commitment to ensure that the country is ready to host the event. This is what we've looked forward for nearly 20 years, Madam CS. And for those who don't see hope and aspiration and commitment, sometimes with a great journey comes an outstanding event. So the bank is honored today to come here in our commitment as official financial partner for this event, which in my view remains the most significant rally in Kenya's motorsport history. Our involvement has been drawn for a number of years, not just in Kenya, but across the region. I give you some statistics, I'll give you some numbers, which Fiona said I'll mention. Over the last 18 years, we've invested more than 1.2 billion shillings supporting motorsport specific. We are involved in other sports, and this sponsorship has sustained the motorsports for many years to create the talent that Fiona has talked about, both locally, our own teams, the technical teams, and international platforms. And that, for me, is the vision of creating something unique for our country. Our commitment is also into other sports activities. We spent more than close to 1 billion shillings in various sports we are very excited about. You probably know that we are strong on football, where we have our football club. We have a volleyball team, a women volleyball team. We have a rugby team. We also have a chess team for the last 10 years. I don't think when it comes to sports, Madam CS, you will find another corporate partner who has done significant amount of investments in our markets, including our investment of 300 million with the golf that we did for the last 3 years. So, and sports is something that is very close to us in our heart. It excites the energy of our young people. It also profiles the opportunity for Kenyans to go international. So we are happy to continue with this exciting journey. With our ambition is to progress the association. You can count on us, CS, in building the high level of commitment and the level of global rallying event through the Safari Rally. We believe that the upcoming event in June is an outstanding and unique opportunity to demonstrate Kenya's growing credentials as a global sports warehouse with the talents that we have, in addition with the value the country creates. And therefore, today our commitment, Madam CS, is this event is a contribution of a check worth 100 million Kenya shillings towards KMRC Rally. We are confident that our contributions will enable the country to host a safe and successful outing, as we're all looking forward to. And finally, in the last year, and I mentioned, all of us have been aware about the difficulties, the global pandemic or the challenges, and there are many ways you see it, and that has affected sports activities in one way or another. And as one of the biggest supporters of sports in Kenya, we continue to stand firm with the sports teams across the different activities. And in our announcement today is just demonstrate our commitment that we remain a partner for the long term. And after successfully staging the Africa Rally Championship, the Equator Rally over the weekend, I am quite confident and happy that the WRC and KMSF can host a bigger event and a more exciting event in the coming few months. So I wish all the teams and everybody else involved in this activity the best efforts that you put together, everything in place to see the event coming back. Most young people may not remember, but I do remember as I was a young person 18 years ago, and therefore I'm really looking forward to bring back energy and memories. Thank you all, and thank you for hosting us. Thank you.
Yeah, let's give Joshua a very big round of applause. Just allow me to request again somebody who's really stood with this project, who's continued to guide my office because he has more experience in government than myself, my PS, Joe Okundo, to come and make his remarks and invite the CS.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Madam CS, Cabinet Secretary, the leader of our ministry, Joshua, a good friend of mine, Group CEO from KCB and his team, CEO WRC, Rally Kenya, and the entire team, the entire organizing committee. It gives me great pleasure to be here today, essentially to do the simplest job, which is to invite the Cabinet Secretary. So I could actually just do that now and we move on. But before I say that, I think it would be a failure on my part if I do not recognize the contribution that the Kenya Commercial Bank has done for this particular sport and many others. For a very long time in the government, we've been talking about public-private partnerships as the way to bring development into the country across sports and across other disciplines. There have been very few initiatives where we've actually seen success. And today I stand here very proud because this is really success of a public-private partnership initiative intended to benefit the youth of this particular country. And it gives me so much pleasure to thank you once again, Joshua, for what you're doing in sports, and in particular the WRC. I'd also like to encourage the other private sector companies in this country that they do have a responsibility, just as KCB, to take their role and responsibility to support sports and the youth in this country through sports and talent development. I know Toyota Kenya are already on board, and I want to thank them for that. And I know Kenya Airways, our national carrier, is also on board, and I also want to thank them for that. But I also want to say that this particular partnership is a journey. It's not a one-day affair. It really requires a huge process, and you get the results if you're resilient and you're able to stay the test of time. It requires capacity building. It requires discipline within the federations that we intend to fund, that they have good governance structures in place so that the intended money that they receive is used for that very purpose and not for any other purpose other than developing that particular sports and the youth and talent. So, I mean, with those few remarks, I just felt it was necessary to say that. Allow me to welcome the chief guest, Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Amina Mohamed, to come and give a keynote address. Thank you.
Well, thank you very, very much. Let me recognize in a very special way P.S. Joe Kudo. Thank him for his amazing work, his passion, the energy that he has brought to the Ministry of Sports. Let me recognize a person that I've admired and I respect, admired for a very long time, and I continue to respect and to, in many ways, look up to as an example of a leader of one of the most, I think, important corporates in our country, Mr. Joshua Oigara. I consider him a friend too, although of course I haven't known him for as long as Phineas has. Let me also thank Phineas Kimanthi, the CEO of the WRC Safari Rally Kenya. Tell him that we appreciate everything that he brings to the table. I don't think we could have done this without you. And I think forever now, the Safari Rally, it was always linked to you, by the way, because you're a driver in the rally. But now, more than at any other time, I think the Safari Rally will always be remembered with you in mind. And every time we talk about the Safari Rally, I think we'll be thinking also of the contribution that Phineas made. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and let me also recognize all the experts, all those that have contributed so much to ensuring that we are where we are today, and they're standing at the back. Please, let's give them another hand of applause. So let me just begin by recognizing that the KCB group has been a co-partner to the ministry, having supported various sporting disciplines, especially the one that we are celebrating today, motorsport, over the years. And thank Joshua and his team for believing in the future of Kenyan motorsport. As Phineas said, even after the Safari Rally was pulled off the WRC circuit in 2002. And of course, as we all know, the centrality of KCB's support in continuing Kenya's motorsport is actually not in doubt. They stayed with the sport against all odds, and they've done this for the past 2 decades. So we appreciate this support that has been accorded to the motorsporting fraternity since 2003, and note that since the commencement of our partnership, KCB has invested a huge sum of money. Joshua talked about 1.2 billion Kenya shillings that has been invested in motor sport, making them the single largest commercial investor in motorsport. But you also know that KCB supports autocross, it supports golf, it supports football, as well as rugby. So in fact, at the ministry, we think of KCB as our most critical, our most important, and our most loved partner in sports. I just want to also touch on our openness as a government to collaborate with the private sector to develop sports following the challenges that have been visited on the sector by the corona virus pandemic. And affirm that we'll be looking to the private sector, to the corporate sector, to support us as they have done before, to ensure that our sportsmen and women have the assistance that they need during this really trying period. We also want to affirm that this partnership, the public-private partnerships in sports are essential components, and they're essential to build back better systems, better teams, and a better economy, and most importantly, better health for all through sport. As PS Okudo has done, I want to invite more corporate players to support the sector and pledge full support to clear the processes and agreements that come with public-private partnerships. We have developed a professional technical team at the Ministry of Sports, and we're in close collaboration with the Office of the Honorable, the Attorney General and Treasury, and we've devised an efficient formula to review and finalize MOUs and partnership agreements at the same pace as expected in the private sector. And perhaps I would argue just a little bit faster than in the private sector. We have cleared and signed the agreement, and we did that with KCB before agreed timelines had lapsed. I want to assure the sports sector that we will continue to work on that culture that we have embraced in the last 1.5 years of effective governance through mechanisms that we have set up at the Department of Sports and at the Office of the Registrar of Sports. And we want to see an organic growth of sports organizations, particularly legal and accountability processes, providing a stable, collaborative atmosphere for the private sector to engage openly and transparently to reap maximum value for their investment. And I would encourage a systemic uptake of grassroots sports organizations by SMEs as well as MSMEs, and assure all of them of our support as a ministry. I would like to tell them that the accruing benefits of these collaborations will be enjoyed by everybody. And I think maybe as finally to just say that there's a very strong linkage between sports and business collaboration, and that provides a platform for a healthy and necessary recipe for sustainable global economic growth and recovery, as well as sustainable sports development. Ladies and gentlemen, with those few and many remarks, I just want to say finally that that we all congratulate the participants of the ARC rally that took place last weekend. It gave us an opportunity to test our systems, to test our coordination, to test our roots. And as I said, when we closed the rally at the closing ceremony, we found that our collaboration was flawless, that our routes, though challenging, were very exciting, and that our teams performed amazingly well. I also confirmed that we are ready for the Safari rally, that our preparedness is at international standards, and that we are all looking forward. And I'd just like to tell all Kenyans to look forward to a very exciting Safari rally in June. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam CS, for your confidence in us. Our program is going to take a little bit of a turn. We will now go into the media Q&A session, followed by the check presentation and photo session. And then we'll move on to tree planting. And after that, we'll have refreshments. And then people will be ready to leave. I will hand over the mic to my colleague, Mr. Kome Kazungu. Kome Kazungu is our chief consultant in digital marketing to take this session. Kazungu.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause. CS, thank you for joining us. The CEO, KCB, it's a pleasure. PS and Onye and Phineas, thank you. So members of the press, it's time for your questions. You're going to introduce yourself, and then you're going to raise your hand. He's going to give you a microphone, and then you'll introduce yourself from whichever media house you come, and the person you're directing your question to. We could start. You can just raise your hand, then we'll direct you.
My name is Lokeder Natiom from Nation Media Group. Madam CS, the last time we were here, you said you have a lot of plans in roping in more women into Safari Rally. We saw a little bit of them, and a few of them during the Equator ARC Rally this past weekend. I don't know what plans we have, or if we have women already who are trying to enlist in the upcoming June event.
There's another question. Is there another one?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elvis Joshua from the Strata Media Group. Madam CS, this is directed to you. Of course, everybody is looking up to the forthcoming rally. And, but of late, Madam CS, going by what we saw last weekend during the Equator rally, there was somehow some, debate online, especially from fans, sports fans, who are, in the opinion, or this is basically public perception, in that some sports are being favored. So I just want to ask you straight away, do you favor some sports? Because we saw a rally being held, the dry run championship, but in the meantime, other sports are still in the ice. So I just want to ask you, and if you may, if you are favoring some sports more than the others. Thank you.
Well, thank you very, very much. I think those are two excellent questions. The first one on women, yes, we had some women in the rally that happened over the weekend. I think, Phineas, we had two women. Which is a good number to begin with. It's a journey. It's a journey. If there were hardly any women before, this time we have two. We are hoping that for the Safari Rally we may have some additional women, and I'm looking at Phineas because I want him to assure me that that's going to happen. But the intention, obviously, and the objective that we have is to make this sport popular to women and to young people, because you saw that there were not many young people. There were a few young people, and we applauded them, commended them, and embraced them. But we want to make sure that there are more young people interested in the sport, and therefore we have started an initiative with the CEO and the WRC to make sure that we encourage more young people into the sport. So we're trying to see how we can actually support them to do that. But of course, we want to make sure that the passion is there, that the commitment is there, that the determination is there, and that these young people have actually identified motorsport as a sport that they're interested in. Yeah? So they'll have to do some heavy lifting themselves, right? So that we can then come in and support them. Yeah? And for women, I think we'll just continue encouraging women in the same way that we'll do for everybody else. We want more Kenyans in the sport. We want more Kenyans to win at the Safari Rally. So in fact, as we support the return of the rally, we also want to build the capacity that is necessary around it. In terms of expertise, I think as you've heard Phineas say, behind us stand a very, very strong team that has capacities, imparting also capacity to our own young people. So it's a journey. We have started well, and I think I'm excited about the future of Motor Rally. On whether I am biased towards some sport, look, I'm human, So as a human being, obviously, you like some sports more than others, and you feel strong about some more than others. But let me tell you this, that in fact, the one that I'm completely and totally hoping that we can open up in due course is the leagues, the soccer leagues, because I know that there's a lot of heart there. But there is a presidential directive. There are Ministry of Health guidelines. They are there because of the need to protect our population, to protect our people, protect our country, to make sure that we actually survive this pandemic. And I think all of us should be supporting those guidelines. We should be working with government to make sure that we are safe and secure. And I know that over the weekend there were a lot of questions around the motor rally. Yeah? But you know that the motor rally, first of all, is a precursor to the safari rally, which is an international event with deadlines, timelines that cannot be shifted. We also have a responsibility, a special responsibility, because Kenya is one of 2 countries in the southern hemisphere that are been entrusted with hosting rallies. Okay, so there are only 2 of us. There's Chile and there's Kenya. So there's a special responsibility that comes with that. And then, of course, there's distance that can be maintained. There were very strict protocols that had been put in place. There was a testing that was happening every few hours. If you didn't have access if you were not tested, we had a rapid testing system in place, and so standards had been put in place to ensure that people were safe. The very few people, because as you know there were no spectators, the very few people that were there were fully tested and complied. In fact, one of the things I said at the end of the rally was that we had delivered a COVID-free rally. So it's easy to do some of those things if there are very, very few people in a sport, or very, very few people that are engaged in any event. If there are more people, then it's more difficult. But we are all looking forward. As the numbers come down, we're all looking forward, because as Minister of Sport, actually my interest is in making sure that all the sports spaces are opened. So that people can go back to what they used to do. We can all go back to normalcy. Okay, so let's all pray hard, but more importantly, observe all the protocols that have been put in place. The more we observe the protocols, the more we adhere to them, the sooner we will get out of the situation that we find ourselves in, right? And allow our sporting events to again roll out and begin. And so, and you know that we haven't opened up any sport. We haven't opened up any sport at all. The rally was an exception. I thought that you were going to ask a few questions this way.
Just one more, please, yeah? Good evening, everyone. My name is Rotuno Konyike from KTN. Regarding the suspension of sports, the last time some amount was directed towards cushioning various players and teams all over the country. Now, with the most recent suspension, it came abruptly. What are the plans this time round?
We're working. We're trying to work with the corporate world to see whether we can, raise resources. There are plans that we're trying to make to see how we can work on that. Yeah, so I can't say much about it because it's something that we are all, discussing, talking about, seeing how we can come in and support sportsmen and women. I know that they're hurting. I know because I'm in constant, contact with them. I talk to them, I speak to them. I know that the shoe is pinching really hard, and so we're looking for ways in which we can be supportive. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, let's move on with the questions. Remember, we have KCB Group CEO and also the CEO of WRC, so we can be able to start with the questions.
Okay, Elvin Joshua once again. This is directed to Bwana CEO. We know that KCB, for a long time, you have been supporting sports. No doubt about that. But today just released 100 million. But we recently saw your team. Currently, there is a volleyball team, volleyball championship, which is going on in Tunisia. But we didn't see KCB. They pulled out. Some are saying that you didn't have the money. You're talking KCB. Maybe if you, I don't know, it's just a challenge I'm throwing at you, but please, with all humility, what happened?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I think it's how you see, and I like you raise the questions. We have been a long player in supporting the volleyball teams, and I think if you don't see them in one event, does not mean at all that we don't have resources. So that is an easy assessment. We are a long-term partner. They have other commitments they're participating in. There are many championships they're participating in, and their ambition is to win the league. So we have activities that we're working with our volleyball team that we love very much. You may have misunderstood it.
Someone from a different media house, a question? 2 questions each. Can raise your hand. Then if there's no more question, allow me to hand over to Faith to continue the program. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kazungu. Now I'll ask my colleagues, who are very smart in their number 1 shot, to give us space so I can welcome the chief guest for the check presentation and photo session. It's just happening right behind where the banners are. Karibuni. My colleagues, don't go too far. Can we have everybody clapping? I think this is a big check, literally. Thank you very much, KCB, for the wonderful check. Asante sana. Thank you for the handover. Kabiru to move. What was he doing there? He gets excited. He's been told. Thank you very much. We'll now proceed to the tree planting. And if you could follow me kindly.